Hey guys, it's Closing Time with the SharpMoney Discord. Today we're going to be talking about the SharpMoney bots, kind of how they operate, and also what all the information means that is displayed on the bot. So this is going to be geared towards newer positive EV bettors or newer members to our Discord, just to understand some of the basic concepts and information that the bot is spitting out. Now we have tons of YouTube videos that go into depth about each piece of information that these bots list, but today we're just going to have a broad overview of all the information to let you guys really understand the product as quickly as possible. But we always really push for members to dig deeper and do more research. The more you can understand about profitable sports betting, the more money you can make long term. So we always encourage to learn a lot more than just this general video. The most optimal way to use the Sharp Money Discord is by getting your notifications set up for every sportsbook that you have available to you. The more sportsbooks you have access to, then the more plus EV opportunities you're going to have. Also, will give you more opportunities to make money. So, if you aren't sure which sportsbooks are available in your state, reach out to one of the moderators or one of the owners in the Sharp Money Discord. There are a lot of sportsbooks that aren't well-known names that you can have access to in many different states. So definitely reach out to us here and let's break down this play step by step. So obviously the sports book that it's flagged in is called Rebet. This is a sweepstakes book that I personally use quite a bit. And this play is flagged just to the Rebet channel because the odds matter. So this is flagging the money line for the Guardians. So the bet wants you to bet the Guardians money line at minus 120 on Rebet. So it flags into the Rebet channel because it only wants you to bet it on Rebet if they have the odds of minus 120. If it's on FanDuel for minus 125, it is not a good play, and that's why the bot didn't flag it for a different book. You need to get this price at what the bot posts. If it's better than minus 120, you can take it. Like if it's minus 115, you can go ahead and take it. But if it's minus 130 by the time you get to the bet, then it's no longer good. That's also why it's important to have your notifications on, because we are finding outliers in the market and books will correct their odds very fast. So if this gets flagged at minus 120 in the matter of seconds or minutes, this could move to minus 130 because the sports book will adjust. So that's the top two things, and that's really important. So now let's break down the stats, right? So EV stands for expected value, and this is a 1.9% EV play, which means if you place $100 on this bet, you're expected to make 1.95% of your original investment or wager, whatever you want to call it. So, for an example, a $100 bet, you're talking about $1.95 of estimated profit long term. Doesn't sound like much, but if you're able to get off dozens of bets a day, I mean, the money adds up really fast. So, the fair value, FV is what it stands for, is minus 125.28. So that is the fair value odds. That is what our bot says should be the price of this line. It means that any price better than that minus 125 number is going to be a good bet. So, like I said, if that number moves up to minus 124, it technically still has some expected value, but it's a lot less, but it's still a good play. And then next to that number is the win probability. So every fair value has an implied win probability assigned to it. Basically, this is your break even number. So if you bet this and you win 55.61% of the time, which on average you should, then you would break even. Because we are getting it at minus 120 odds, then we will actually have value to that bet. Now, the next thing we see is half Kelly and quarter Kelly. And Kelly stands for the Kelly Criterion Formula, which is a bet sizing strategy used to optimize your upswings and limit your downswings. Basically, it takes in consideration the two things listed above, your EV percentage and your chance of winning, and it gives you an optimal bet size to grow your bankroll. Now, some people will bet a half Kelly, which is slightly more aggressive, and some people will use a quarter Kelly, which is less aggressive, obviously. If you're just starting out, I would recommend quarter Kelly. And this is telling you how many units to bet. So if you are a new member, let's just say you're going to use quarter Kelly. Let's just say your unit size is $100. So this is saying to use 0.58 units. So simply multiply that number by your unit size. So that would be a $58 bet on this play. Now we see three knives next to the 1/4 Kelly, and those knives stand for how many other sharp books are used in the DVIG process. So if you don't understand what the DVIG process is or what a sharp book is, we have many videos on those, but essentially they are sharper sports books that set more accurate odds. So we can use their odds to compare to the market and find value on sports books that are typically lagging to move their lines. So when it comes to our main bot, we only use 3 sharp books. So when you have all of these sharp books used in this DVIG, then it's a very, very good play. So listed below is the sharp books and the prices of the books. So Circa Vegas has the Guardians at minus 134. Pinnacle has minus 134 and Bookmaker has minus 133. So all these books pretty much agree this price should be minus 133. The reason the bet is good is because on Rebet, it's priced at minus 120. The whole point of positive EV betting is just letting the market determine the fair value of the price and then finding bets on books that are not moving their odds. It's requires no research. It's really quick to bet. The other thing that you see here that I didn't mention is the Pinnacle limit, and this is at $10,000. Essentially, Pinnacle is one of our sharp books that we use in the DVIG process, and their limit is how much money they're willing to accept on a wager. So when a bet first opens up, the limit might start at $1,000, but as the day continues and we get closer to the event, the limits will go up. And with higher limits on Pinnacle, we can be more confident that they have a good price out there, because if they're willing to take $10,000 wagers on a line, you better assume that they have that they're really confident with that line and that it's a very accurate line. But if Pinnacle limits are only $1,000, then they might not be fully shapen up and the market might not be that efficient yet. So it's really important there. And we have great videos explaining why limits are important. So let's take a bigger look at the bottom half of this, which is the SharpMoney graphs, which is really what makes our product unique and really useful. Is we show the historical odds movement of these books along with the Pinnacle historical limits. So the yellow line here is Bookmaker, and you can see that earlier in the day or last night around 10 p.m., they opened this line up for the Guardians, and they opened it up at, looks like about minus 108. And they have been dropping their odds all day long down to that minus 133 mark. This basically tells you that sharp bettors are hitting that side of the line and the book is adjusting their price because the Guardians is becoming the more probable outcome. And the movement across the market is pretty much exactly the same. You see Pinnacle opening up in that minus 106 range, dropping to minus 133. They are the pink line, and the purple line is Circa, and they all opened around the same price and moved to the same price. So this market is moving very efficiently, but Rebet is still lagging at a minus 120 price when the rest of the market is minus 130 and above. So the other thing you see on this graph is the limits of Pinnacle, which is that white line there. And if you look on the right side of the graph, it shows the limits. And you can see that earlier in the day, around 10 o'clock, the limits were around $5,000. And then they jumped to $7,500. And once those Pinnacle limits went up, the price of Pinnacle dropped down pretty quick. And you can see the drop happen on Pinnacle again when the limits go from 7,500 up to 10K. Essentially, what that means is professional bettors are waiting for higher limits to get their money down. They are hitting the Guardian side of this line, driving that price down. Now, this is just a broad overview of why the graphs are important. Like I said, I have a whole 20-minute video all about the limit increases and the odds movement and explain this graph. But this is a very good example of a good sharp money play from the Plus EV bot. Other thing I didn't mention is the timestamps down below. You can see the overall time of when odds were changing and limits were increasing. So the prop bot works a little bit differently because the markets aren't as liquid as the main market. So let's dive into the SharpMoney prop bot graphs. Here's a play from the player prop graphs, and each of our different sports and markets have different what we call sharp books or books that we use to DVIG. It's mostly a combination of retail books that we trust a little bit more than typical retail books, along with the sharp books like Pinnacle, Circa, Bookmaker, Bet Online. It's a blend of all these books. So when you're betting props, You want more of a market average. There aren't necessarily too many books that are very sharp. We use Pinnacle and Bet Online as kind of our sharpest books, but for the most part, it's like a blend of different books. So here's an example right here. You see Maxwell Muncie under a hit, plus 115 on Novig, which is a betting exchange sports book. And our chart down below, all the information in the text chart is pretty much the same. We already discussed it. The chart down below is where it gets a little bit different because we are using different DVIG books. So here we have a DVIG with Caesars, BetMGM, and DraftKings, and you can see that each of their lines are listed on the screen here. So DraftKings is that green line, went from plus 115 down to plus 100. Caesars went from plus 100 down to minus 105. And then you can see MGM actually just opened their line at about noontime at minus 105 as well. So all of these books are offering plus 100 or worse odds, and you can get this at plus 115 on the exchange. You can also see the line movement. You want to see lines dropping. Like I said, it's another kind of advanced concept that we talk about in different videos, but that's basically what you want to see. So underneath the graph, you're going to see which books were used in the DVIG process. So like I said, there's Caesars, BetMGM, and DraftKings listed there. It also lists the current price of that book. So along with the movement, you can see where the current line stands. The only time you won't see multiple retail books used in the DVIG process or listed in the chart is when it is a positive EV play to Pinnacle and Bet Online, or a combination of the two of them. So you may only see one line, but that'll only happen if it's compared to Pinnacle or Bet Online. It's not going to give you a plus EV play just to DraftKings as a DVIG book, because we don't trust DraftKings odds, where we do trust Pinnacle's odds and Bet Online's odds over anyone else setting player props. Inside of our Discord, you're going to get free access to a DraftKings bot, which is a really common sports book across the United States, and you will get free plus EV plays without having to ever pay a dollar. So we always recommend people go check out the free Sharp Money page, understand how these bots work, get comfortable with them, and then sign up for premium, where you'll have access to 20 other sports books that you can attack through plus EV betting. Now, along with that, like I said, we have videos that break down every single one of these categories. So like the EV percentage, we have 10-minute long YouTube video about how to calculate EV, what it means, and same thing with the fair value, same thing with Kelly criteria, same thing with every single stat we use. We also have videos explaining the charts better, and just a lot more resources that you can use to understand how to make good positive EV bets. So definitely check that out. I'm going to drop the link to the free Discord below. So definitely join there. And if you have any questions, let me know in the comments or ask me in Discord. I'll definitely be around. All right. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.